everyone. I'm attorney Linda Bernard, the elected police commissioner for District 2 in the city of Detroit. And it's my pleasure to host my favorite show, Chop It Up with attorney Linda Bernard. I hope you're having a great day today, and I know you're going to be extraordinarily well informed when we finish this show today. Chop It Up is a show that's interactive with guests of national and international prominence. So you've got a lot to look forward to, especially today, because my guest today is a man that's an entrepreneur par excellence. He's started so many businesses, made so many businesses successful, and now has initiated, and some years ago, initiated this particular project, WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. And so today I'm going to interview him. Entrepreneurship is so very important in our community. People often say that integration hurt entrepreneurship in the black community, because in the times of segregation we could only go to a black cleaners, a black bar, a black restaurant, a black library, etc. And then integration came, and of course we scattered. We went everywhere else, and many of our businesses and everything closed as a result of that because of the loss of business. It went to the white community. But this gentleman, Mr. Roger Penzabany, who started this initiative, is really from a very old and very distinguished family here in the city of Detroit. His dad was one of the key writers and producers at Motown, and was there when it first started with Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson and everyone else you can think of that's a Motown artist. And so he, like his father, has a special gift, a special talent that allows him to be engaged in the entertainment industry, but actually behind the scenes, not writing, not producing, not selecting talent, but, if you will, putting all talent out front so all of us can see them and hear them on radio and television. In addition to this station, Mr. Penzabany has also has a jazz series in downtown Detroit at the Music Hall in the Aretha Cafe. He brings in artists and has all of us come into this beautiful room with red velvet everywhere and a stage, and it's like a speakeasy from times gone by, and great artists perform there, and you of course can have libations there and everything else as you enjoy the artist that is the artist of the week, which I might add are always very famous people and extraordinarily talented people. But Roger's role to getting to this position, where he now has his own studio, his own television studio, his own live jazz series, and as obviously his own entertainment and management company, was a tough one. His father died at a very young age, and he was raised by his mom, and so she was a single mother, and he had brothers and so forth, and it was a challenging time in Detroit then for an African American woman with young children to try to be successful and to try to make a living. However, she did it. And Roger, though, was always the unique one. He was the one that got the most whoopings. He was the one that got the most punishments and everything, because he is and has already always thought outside the box. He's always thinking about ways to make money, always thinking about ways to communicate with the community and move the community forward. So as time went on and everything, he became more and more interested in media and music, like his dad. And so he then started a number of different business initiatives, all related to the entertainment industry. He knows a lot about a lot, which is very important, particularly in our community. And he understands the history of music and entertainment in this community and actually throughout the country. So he initiated this project, WJZZ Cool TV. He has the only proprietary interest in this particular project, and therefore he's the man. Most of us are familiar with WJZZ and have been familiar with it for years. Years ago, many of you know a gentleman by the name of Spencer Haywood. Years ago, I co-hosted his program on WJZZ, and it was a program similar to this one, with a focus on knowledge, a focus on meeting and talking to people who were interesting and or who had something to contribute to society overall. So Spencer and I did that. He was kind of cool. Spencer is such a jazz enthusiast, you wouldn't believe it. I'll have to have him on sometime soon here on Chop It Up. But for right now and everything today, we're going to hear from a man that is remarkable in every sense of the word. We're going to hear from Mr. Pennsylvania, who has initiated this, founded it, started it out of his own pocket, and now, of course, has some sponsors and so forth. But, you know, that's a continuing challenge in a community like the city of Detroit. And we're being joined right now by Mr. Roger Pennsylvania, who is the founder of this particular TV station and the owner of the whole WJZZ name and all of the rights, all of the intellectual property rights that go along with that. Welcome, Roger. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you for being here and hosting your show as always, and thank you for letting me be the guest.
Oh, I'm excited about you.
I'm used to staying behind the scenes, but before we get into everything going on around here, I just want to be clear on a few things. So, starting one, I want to make it clear: the founders of the WJZZ Jazz brand are Dr. Haley Bell and Dr. Wendell Cox, right, and Robert Bass, early on, Dr. Bass. So, but Dr. Haley Bell is the principal founder of everything. And first, he, in 1955, founded WCHB radio station, which was the first African-American owned independent radio station in the world, built from the ground up. So he started it all from scratch. And all this he started at the age of 65 after he retired from dentistry. And his son-in-laws, Dr. Cox and Dr. Cox and Dr. Bass, they came to co-found with him. And then 4 years later, in 1959, they founded WCHD Jazz Radio, which was the first jazz radio station that was devoted to jazz, and that was the only format. And then in 1974, March of 1974, they changed the call letters to WJZZ, and the rest is history, as they say in the jazz world. So not only is WJZZ the radio, jazz radio, Detroit Jazz Radio, the oldest brand, the oldest jazz station in the world, I want to let people know that Dr. Bell Broadcasting, also set up the radio station at Fisk University.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So they started out with a idea to have a radio station, and at the time, my understanding of the history, Robert Bass Jr. was attending Fisk, and he was the first GM of that radio station. And so then he had his grandfather invest in the equipment and everything, and they became a bona fide, full-fledged radio station that still goes to this day, called Jazzy 88. That's the nickname. I forget the call letters now, but it's the jazz station located at Fisk University, and it's still going to this day, and it's the #1 jazz station in Tennessee.
Wow, that's amazing! And thank you for that history. I did not know about the Tennessee affiliate.
Yeah,
that's or its connection, obviously to Fisk University,
yeah,
which is an HBCU, a historically black college and university. So that's interesting. So the Detroit,
Here, let's
Tennessee,
slide over this way a little bit so
the
you can
the
be
the
closer to your
the,
mic.
the
There
the,
you go.
the Detroit, Tennessee connection is there.
Right.
That's amazing. Go
And
ahead.
so now and catch up a few things about me. You mentioned me getting a lot of punishments and whippings and things. It was a little bit because I've always had an independent kind of outlaw spirit, but I'm the eldest of my brothers and sisters, so it was my responsibility early on to help my mother with them. And sometimes I had other things on my mind that I preferred to do than babysit. But anyway, so that's that. And my family, speaking on my family, I wouldn't. My father's side of the family is an immigrant family, so they don't have
From
long-standing
where?
roots. Sicily. So my father, senior, was the first in his family line born here in the United States, and so I'm the second American generation of my father's side of the family, which is Pennsylvania, which is Sicilian. And it's a lot of stuff you read and hear on the internet. I think every other month they put out some other mini doc on YouTube about his music and stuff. And it's never 100% accurate. So, for instance, they report him on as a suicide, and they report his reason for writing these types of lyrics was because of marital problems that he had with my mother. And then they write just different things of his history, his all this kind of stuff. So I decided, as part of my entertainment entrepreneurial pursuits, I'm gonna do the documentary and set the record straight. And so uh,
What
we're go ahead.
what's the biggest thing that they have written about or said about your father or your family that causes you the most consternation?
Well, none of it causes me. It's at this point in my life, I really don't have any emotional connection to it other than setting the record straight. But it doesn't bother me people's opinions, or you can't. Most of the stuff, it's like any other lie, any other miscommunication, depending on who started it. Which in this case, the suicidal thing was started by David Ruffin. So we're going to explain it. He didn't do it out of malice or anything like that. We're going to explain all the history of my father's songwriting career, which and the all everything about his death would led up to it. All the stuff would be set straight by me. So and a few others that are still around, like Cornelius Grant, and that's the sad part. Most of his peers and friends are no longer with us, namely Barrett Strong, who they never report this, that
I know Barrett.
my father was writing partners with Barrett Strong and Norman Whitfield for the
Norman.
whole duration of the time, which was brief at Motown. And his catalog is more than the 3 or 4 songs that they play all the time. He had an extensive catalog, and it includes some of the music that became #1 super hits that he doesn't get writing credits or financial credits for, because he sold the music. So all that's going to be
What was
explained.
the song that you said was a
We
super hit?
I'm
Oh,
gonna
you're not
save
gonna tell
I'm gonna
us
save
till we read
everything
the
for
book.
the
Okay.
documentary, and then I'm gonna explain. And people who are in the music business, and people who were in, especially back then, they'll be able to understand and corroborate and everything what I'm saying. And it'll be a few people in the documentary from Motown and other competing stations at the time, namely Golden World.
I remember
My
Golden
mother
World.
was a writer at Golden World after my father. So let's say my father taught her the business. So after his passing, she stayed in the music business for a while. She worked at Golden World, which was an independent label owned by a man we affectionately know in Detroit as Wingate. So
Okay.
so anyway, he ended up selling out to Motown. he was Motown's #1 competition, always nipping at the heels, and so Barry just decided to buy him out, and that's what he did. So, but my mother was at Golden World. And she wrote a hit record for Mavis Staples. She wrote records for the Barcades and
Oh, really?
and bunch of commercial jingles and stuff. And then she went into the nightclub business. So in 1973, after Golden World was sold and all that, she ended up in 1973. She opened a jazz club called the Jazz West, and
I remember
it
Jazz
became a
West.
legendary jazz club. It was right next door to Watts Mozambique, which was famous in its own right. So that's what she did from 73 until 1980. She ran that, and then after that, she just did whatever she wanted to do.
How old were you when your dad died?
4.
So you were the oldest of. You have how many brothers and
It's
sisters?
6 of us total, but it's my brother Carl under me that we had the same mother and father biologically. The rest of them have a different dad from her different marriages.
Are you one of those unique people that can remember when they were 4 years old?
I can remember bits and pieces, but I just wanted to say that my family doesn't have long-standing roots. It was an immigrant family, and it's in the documentary again. I'm going to talk about my paternal grandfather and great grandfather because they have it ties into what my father was doing at Motown and the things that led up to his passing and his demise. So it was
One question regarding that was he an artist himself, a recording artist, or a
not,
writer,
not,
producer?
not professionally. He was a writer and a producer professionally. He made some recordings early on
So he could
as
sing?
a kid.
In your opinion?
No, to be honest, I never heard him sing. It's no recordings or nothing that I have had to. But I don't think he fancied himself as an entertainer. I think
Okay.
he did it as a hobby because he loved music and he loved black music, and I'm mixed race. So
Right.
all his associations, his wife, his friends, everybody for the most part, I'm gonna say 90% of his circle was African American people, and a few Sicilian and a couple other people that he knew from childhood. And they both graduated from Mumford, so I'm going to
wow.
shout out Mumford High School. Both my parents graduated from Mumford.
I see. The blues school it was
The Mustangs.
right, and the Mustangs.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to today. What are the challenges of being a jazz station today with new music forms like hip hop?
Yeah.
Of course, what Metallica. I don't know what that's called. It's called something else.
Heavy metal.
Heavy metal. What are the challenges as you see it for jazz? Will you define jazz for our audience, please?
I'm not going to try to define jazz.
Well, just
Jazz-
kinda, sorta.
This is what I'm going to say. And I'm going to follow the lead of Miles Davis, the GOAT, in jazz. He hated the word jazz because it's limiting. And so we know jazz in common parlance at this point. It's a style of music. But what I personally preach and teach and what our philosophy is, jazz is a lifestyle. It's a culture unto itself. Anything sophisticated, avant-garde, independent, unique, stylish, cool is jazz. So if I had to pick one word to describe jazz culture, not just the music, that's what's important to me. We push a lifestyle here. It'll be cool. So what's true cool, true swag, that's jazz. And jazz is the root, foundation, heartbeat of just about every genre of popular music, whether it's pop, R&B, soul, extended blues. From blues was blues, kind of gospel coming out of slavery, but then it got to be a little hipper, and then they transformed that to rhythm and blues. But people have to know sonically, musically, it was jazz artists or musicians who knew about jazz and classical music and all that, who blended it and took blues to another level, took gospel to another level.
Yep.
The whole Motown sound was the Funk Brothers, who were just about all jazz musicians
Oh.
before Motown. So all of this kind of stuff, again, because I want to do so many ventures, that's another documentary that we actually start shooting. We started doing the stuff for my dad already, and then WJZZ, we're gonna start shooting that at the end of the month. So it's been a couple of years in the making. And answering your question, the challenges, it's not just a challenge to jazz. Jazz fell off because the young generation and the corporations, because people have to know, whatever the corporations get behind, they kind of tell the masses what's
What's hip?
popular,
What's
what's
hot?
good for them, what they need. So you being tricked and controlled if you're not conscious. And it's not just about music, it's about like politics, everything, right? You got to be your own thinker, you got to be a free thinker. And to me, that's the essence of jazz, is to be out of the box. You describe me as being out of the box, and I'm proud about being out of the box.
You
It
should
gets
be.
me in trouble sometimes. It got me in trouble most of my life for people who know my history, and I'll speak on it now. And I'm trying to talk fast because I agreed not to take breaks and stuff during this, just for the station ID. But it's hard being an entrepreneur, period. Everybody who's tried it, and whether they were successful or not, knows it's hard. It's hard to keep a relationship of any kind. It's hard. You got to sacrifice a lot. When I was living my former life, and I don't want to dance around it. I'm a returning citizen. So everybody in Detroit, or anybody who knows me or looks it up, it's public record. I'm a returning citizen. IE con, and that was my past life. I grew up with a lot of privilege. I had opportunities. A lot of my mother's side of the family was prominent with city life, politics, and social organizations and stuff. I just chose to do my own thing. And growing up in the 70s, instead of me having role models of Reggie Jackson and Dr. J, those were the
Understand?
guys that was hot back then. But
Yeah, I
me,
understand.
but me, because I was exposed, I'm looking back on it now. I grew up in a jazz club, basically.
Right.
Anybody who hung out at the Jazz West know the clientele were gangsters, pimps, and businessmen, independent black businessmen. It was mainly a black business, but it was it was the 70s, so it was cool to
But
mix back then.
when I think about the jazz in general, and then the Jazz West in particular, I'm thinking about live music.
It was
That's
live music.
that's really, I mean, to me, that's what jazz is. People who can really play an instrument,
Right.
who can play. I mean, who aren't just making sounds like they are now. You
Yeah.
can create any sound on a computer.
So yeah,
So,
it was live
it was
music.
talent.
It was live music
It was
and
real
food.
talent.
It's fresh home cooked food by my mother and my grandmother, and granny, and a few other ladies that my mother had, that I guess that was their claim to fame. People literally came there to eat. So in Detroit at that time, it was live music everywhere. So you would know about that better than me, being a different generation. But
I beg your pardon.
I just I meant that
I
in a
beg your
respectful,
pardon.
good way.
No, but when it comes to jazz,
I used to just sit there as a young boy and just have crushes on the ladies that came in there, because, and I was saying, and not to cut you off, go back to the story, but I was just painting a picture about my life and how I grew up to give some explanation for the psychology or whatever. I grew up, and I had a mixture of my community where I grew up. Started out, it was the community known as Russell Woods, and then as my mother prospered, we moved to Boston Edison. So I grew up in Boston Edison. At that time was a was, I have to always say the time because it's different now. So you can't compare.
It was the black bourgeoisie
Yeah,
in the
it was.
city
It
of
wasn't.
Detroit.
It was not many African American people living there. I think
Correct.
Berry Gordy lived there.
Yep.
Dr. Cox and Dr. Bell
They
lived there,
always lived
and I
there.
never knew it. I knew of Berry as a kid, but because of my family with Motown. And I went to the mansion a few times as a kid, but I did not hang around Berry Gordy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I used to be Dr. Bell's paper boy and didn't know who he was. I look back on it now, and I was Amir Jacobson's paper boy, and all these different people, prominent African Americans, Porterfield Wilson, Brady Keys, they all lived in that community, and we kind of knew their names, but I didn't know of them and what they did in particular. And even the infamous, notorious people who lived in my community, we knew them, and I took a shine to them more than I did the respectable people. Let's say I
Well,
saw,
that's a glamorous lifestyle, and that's what's portrayed in films and in movies everywhere.
yeah, but I grew up knowing Donald Byrd. So it's a movie released about him now, right? So I actually, as a
Tell
kid,
everybody who Donald Byrd is in case they don't
I mean,
know.
who doesn't know, especially
Come on.
from Detroit? Okay, so let me paint a picture real quick. Donald Byrd is a celebrated author of urban writing. He's the guy. Anybody that's been locked up, male or female, across the United States, has read a Donald Goines paperback. So he put out a bunch of paperback books.
I didn't know that. I just knew him as a musician.
No, not Donald Byrd. Donald Goines.
Oh, Goines. Oh, okay.
Donald Goines. Did I say? Didn't
You
I say
said Donald Byrd.
I said Donald Byrd.
Yeah.
I have to look back at the interview. No, I meant Donald Goines. If I had to look back at the tape because this is live, but I meant Donald Goines. It's a movie that just was released about Donald Goines' life. So, but anyway, Donald Goines was a street guy. He was a drug addict. He was a criminal. He was all these things, and upon being locked up, he started writing, and he became famous for writing a bunch of books about urban life. Some of his most famous books are Kenyatta's Last Hit and Crime Partners, and some of these things have been turned into a movie. So he wrote a bunch of paperback books, and then people followed behind him like Iceberg Slim and all that. But I actually knew Donald Byrd. I said it again. Now you got me saying Donald. I knew
said
Donald.
it before.
I know Donald Byrd too, though. But
I was going to ask you about him.
so
Yeah.
so cleaning up Donald Goines, the writer, the author, public figure. I knew him on 12th Street in Collingwood, where he used to hang out, and he was a drug addict at that time, but he still hadn't, what they say, fell off all the way. So he still had a nice Cadillac, and he still had his little women. And back in those days, I guess everybody in the street life, black men, whatever, they would have a couple of women, and people perceived, most of them, if they saw them with more than one woman or certain type of attire, they thought they were pimps or whatever. But to my knowledge, he never was a pimp, never portrayed himself as a pimp. He was just a street hustler. But we used to wash his car for him and stuff as kids, and he would talk to us and give us game and everything like that. But 12th Street, I grew up between, like, my first neighborhood was right off Dexter. So you know better. Like, it has to be people from a certain generation to know why I mention these streets. But it was a lot of action. So it was a lot of action on Dexter in the 70s. It was a lot of action on 12th Street going all the way back to the 20s. So I kind of grew up on Woodward, 12th Street, and Dexter. Went back and forth. Those were my walking distance communities where I could walk, visit friends, relatives that lived in the community, ride my bike, and all the action was.
So you
was
saw all the
almost-
Cadillacs.
Yeah, I saw
all the gorgeous
I saw-
girls and
saw
all the guys that
all
were
the
super
working
sharp.
ladies.
All the guys
And-
that were super sharp.
And from every day, all day. Then at night, especially the weekends, I'm in the jazz club, and I literally grew up in not just a nightclub, but in a jazz club. But my mother was friends with all the club owners, so we would visit all the bars because I was like my mother's sidekick.
But why did you're her eldest child, her eldest son? So I understand that. But
Yep.
did you ever develop an interest in music and jazz
No.
music? You
No,
never
I
played
was-
an instrument.
no.
She didn't put you in piano
I'm-
lessons
I'm-
like everybody
well,
else
she
at
tried,
that time.
My mother tried to refine me as best she could. I went to private schools. I went to parochial schools, which are private, but I went to all of them. I went to Catholic school from my first school experiences till I said no more of this. I went to public school. I went to Waldorf. I went to Cranbrook, and I always, I guess, excelled in school that it was boring to me. And I didn't want to conform. So she tried to have me Jack and Jill. She tried everything.
So
Instruments.
you were what they call an elite Negro.
She tried sports, but I can't do sports and things of competition because I'm a sore loser. And then I just have I'm just not I compete all the time now. I love to compete, but I hate to lose. In anything. I hate to lose in a relationship, anything,
Well, it's nice that you know yourself.
Yeah, I'd rather stay in the relationship forever and fight every day than to break up. Because I hate to lose.
Oh.
And I've never broke up with a lady. I've been dumped by every lady I've ever had a relationship with.
So you're a single man now?
No, I'm not single now.
Okay.
I can't. Only time I was single, technically, I was locked up.
Oh.
And I had.
You're in a relationship.
Yeah,
now.
I don't want to ever be single.
Okay. But that's not married. I mean, there's no ring on it.
No, I'm not married, but I'm not opposed to marriage, and I've never been a bachelor. I moved out of my mother's house when I was 14, and I moved in with my girlfriend. She was 15, and her mother and older sisters kind of welcomed me in, and they taught me life from a young women's perspective. So all my advice about dressing and how to be a dude and all that stuff came from women older than me who I was around at the time. And then all the men taught me something else. So looking back on it now, I'm glad of my entire education and childhood.
Well, it sounds like it's been challenging, but it's also the foundation for you building what is now your new empire, which is WJZZ Cool TV.
Well, I'm not gonna say it's an empire
It's coming.
yet. It's sad that Dr. Bell was turning it into an empire, but again, he started when he was 65, so he didn't have a lot of years to work, and Dr. Cox wasn't much younger than him, so I'm happy to pick up the legacy now. So I never try to mislead anybody. I never claim to found it or anything like that. I'm privileged, blessed, honored to be the guy to pick up the torch and try to take the station. Like when
What's your goal for the station now?
To be the biggest, best jazz brand in the world. It's WJZZ is no longer just a radio station. So it was founded as a FM radio station, terrestrial. Now it's online. It goes all over the world. Our radio hosts / DJs are all over and can be anywhere in the world. So anybody who wants to get involved with us in any capacity, whether you want to be on the air to do jazz on the radio or you want to be a podcast host, then contact us at wjzzradio@gmail.com. That's our general email. You won't get solicited or anything like that. So that's how you can contact us, wjzzradio@gmail.com. That's our general box. And go ahead.
Let's talk about that for just a minute. The benefit to doing business with you and having a podcast with you is, number one, you already have all of the equipment. You already have a green studio, which we are in right now.
Right.
You're an experienced engineer, and the people who work with you are highly experienced engineers. Mm-hmm. And you already have a global network. Is that true?
That's true. So here, and I got to finish up answering your question and not be remiss about everything and everybody I'm dealing with. So yes, WJZZ brand is the baby. That's the parent, that's the foundation, that's everything. So that includes WJZZ Detroit Jazz Radio, which is the radio station. Then it's WJZZ Cool TV, which is the podcast arm. And then we have a magazine we're launching and a few other things. So anytime you see WJZZ Detroit brand, then that's what it is. Then another thing is the logo has been modernized and updated. We still honor the original logo. People wear a lot of the original logo shirts and everything, which is cool. And we even sell that ourselves on our online store. But nowadays we have a new logo and the only colors are black and gold. So if you see a red WJZZ t-shirt with the new logo on it, you know it's a bootleg. And it makes me no difference because as long as they spell it right and make it look right, cool. PR, good press is good. But just officially, the colors are black and gold.
And why is that?
It's a homage to Dr. Bell, who was an alpha. He was an alpha fraternal.
Which, in their colors?
Are black and gold. As the original colors of Kim. Black and gold. Some people call Egypt Kim. Kemet. The land they call Egypt now is Kim. So it's black and gold. Then it's the symbolism of the colors of black and gold. So it's all metaphysical and symbolic. You'd have to get off into that. Okay. But just for those who don't know, every logo has a symbolic, esoteric meaning. Right? So if you're in business and you when you trying to design your logo and everything, it might seem cool to you, the design, but the design traditionally, the logo has to have some subliminal energy to it to really attract and do all these things. So anyway, your marketing people will teach you that like they taught me. So we have WJZZ going, but I want to be like Sean Combs, Diddy. So aside from his recent troubles, he founded Revolt Network. And Revolt Network is an independent communications media station. So the Breakfast Club, some of the most popular Drink Champs, some of the most popular podcast shows.
Well, I didn't know the Breakfast Club was owned by Revolt.
Revolt, yes. So that's Revolt's channel. So as African American, like I said, despite his personal challenges and things, I just focus on the business part, right? Who people sleep with, whatever proclivities they have, is I got my own stuff that I enjoy. So I try to keep.
And baby oil is not a narcotic.
Yeah.
It's not a narcotic.
I never was that successful with money or women to have 700 bottles of baby oil or however many it was. But hey, Wilt Chamberlain. See, I remember when Wilt Chamberlain confessed he slept with 10,000 women.
It was 20,000
or something like that. Nobody never said anything.
No, 20,000 women.
And I'm not condoning real quick because I don't want to get in trouble with the women. But so any violence that he did to any women, if he did it, whatever, I don't condone that. And like I said, I got my own troubles. I don't need to get in nobody else's business, whatever. But from just the business entrepreneurial part, I tip my hat to him because
he's amazing.
He built himself up just like Jay-Z, just like Nas, just like a lot of people from the hip hop. And I'm mentioning that to segue to what I'm saying that you asked earlier. The reason why it's so impressive to me, and I think it should be to others, is because these guys, Diddy went to college, but he's not an Einstein, as they would say. But like most of the hip hop people are self-made guys.
That's correct.
Most of them come from being functional illiterates or limited education.
That's true.
And then they got educated along the way. They had enough sense to say once they start being successful, they knew, okay, I'm not going to spend up all my money and everything fronting and showboating and all that. They kind of went through them phases, but for their few, they grew out of it and graduated to being full-fledged moguls. So Jay-Z is a mogul. Master P is a mogul.
That's correct.
Baby, all of them got different styles, different reputations, and probably different natures.
But they are as businessmen.
Businessmen.
Like you are a
so,
businessman.
So I look at that and I try to copy and model that. So here's the bottom line. The blueprint has already been done. As far as I'm concerned for jazz culture, I personally want jazz music, jazz culture, lifestyle to be as big or bigger than hip hop. So hip hop started from nothing. I'm of the age generation that I remember when it was despised, when people hated it.
Just cassette tapes.
Corporations wouldn't give hip hop a look. Those guys had to become their own engineers, their own managers, their own everything.
They sold out of the trunk of their cars cassette tapes.
The reason why people look now and see all this big entourage with rappers, it's just a bunch of hangers on for the most part for one celebrity. But back in the day, all those people were necessary because they had no management, they had no security, they had none of these helpers. So that was their friends and family who were actually helping them generate a business. They weren't just partying; those people were necessary.
That's
So
true.
that's where you have to go back into the roots of things, and that's my goal. My goal is to copy success. I love that Diddy found it quietly. Most people don't know he's the principal founder of Revolt Network, which is one of the most successful.
And Ciroc.
Yeah. Well,
Vodka.
he
had a
that's a
partner with
branding
that.
thing, but I'm saying the network that's his baby. He put it together and he was behind the scenes building it up. And so I want to emulate that. And right now in Detroit, I have, like you mentioned, Linda, I have the foundation of everything. I don't have Tyler Perry Studios with all this and that, but we have enough. Motown started down the street. I'm literally everybody who's familiar with the Detroit area, or if you ever been visiting to Hitsville, Motown started in a little house right down the street from where we are. You can walk to it. Still there. It's expanded now. It looks different
Looks like
than it did
Hitsville
when I
now.
was a kid.
It's called Hitsville.
It's always Hitsville Museum now.
Okay,
but
museum.
it was always Hitsville, and then it was Motown, and then shortly after he moved into a place that's no longer there. The Motown corporate building was on Woodward and Chrysler Freeways, Fisher Freeway, right there. But they tore it down now. So
Well, they had to tear it down because it was infested with rats and everything.
Yeah.
He totally abandoned it, and he created an eyesore on Woodward Avenue,
okay.
which was outrageous.
I'm just trying to give people the history. So
That
right
is the history.
on the block where we are now, Motown was founded. The St. Regis Hotel, General Motors headquarters, their original headquarters is down the street. Henry Ford Hospital is right down the street. The original NAACP house is down the street. Mike Banks Techno Museum is down the street. Dr. Charles Wright, he started out his house in the first Charles Wright Museum was down the street. So I could go on and on. Even the location where we are now was the founding headquarters for the Black United Fund of Michigan. And so it's a lot of history. Northwestern High School, which produced a bunch of jazz alumni.
And a lot of distinguished people.
Yeah.
Judge Keith, a lot of people.
Is right across the street. So we're in a famous thing. Hold on.
I got it. I'm
be
going to
back.
keep talking. It's really interesting to listen to a person and see exactly how they started, how they became funded, and the energy that goes into entrepreneurship. Several distinguished entrepreneurs were already referenced in our own community here, but also throughout the country. So it's like you can never count a person out. God puts something special in every single person. And if that person makes good decisions and they can move forward with that, it is so wonderful that Roger has had the opportunity and had the genius, quite frankly, to begin to create just from ashes, if you will, from the city of Detroit, this incredible facility and this incredible empire that he's developing
I'm
right
glad. I'm
now.
glad you're doing the positive thinking. I apologize to everybody for stepping out. Just got to do multiple things around here. But anyway, before we run out of time, I just wanted to finish making this point that you asked me, and it's the whole interview for me is about promoting the station, Detroit and jazz, not myself. Um, and I want this to be the a full fledged. It is a full fledged media company. Like I said, we'll be releasing the magazines. It'll be free. It'll be digital. So just watch us. We always upgrading. We always doing some different stuff. As I can find the time and the finance and everything to do it. We need patrons. Anybody who wants to get involved in the entertainment world in whatever capacity, and you want to invest yourself, your money, your expertise. And I say that all. We need it all. Expertise. If you have talent, get with us. Everything is here. We have an outdoor space, a performance space, a community space. We have different subsidiary businesses and companies, nonprofit and profits. So I just want, if you really in Detroit, I'm trying to do in Detroit what Barry Gordy did years ago, what different people around the world did. So what hip hop did in New York and then spread to the rest of the world, I want to do that for jazz. Detroit has a big history. You don't listen to me, just do your homework and you'll see how important jazz has been to hip hop. We got a special coming up that's talking about jazz and hip hop connection. But listen to the station. So listen to WJZZ is for jazz connoisseurs. So listen at WJZZDetroitRadio.com. 24 hours a day, all over the world. WJZZDetroitRadio.com. That's how you listen to the music. If you want to find me, you want to connect with any of the hosts, you want to be a DJ, you want to get on the podcast, you want to do anything with us, get booked for performance, email me at wjzzradio@gmail.com. If you want to invest with us, if you want us to come to your event, you want us to come and get involved with your business, do a collaboration, I'm down for everything business that makes money, that showcases jazz and art. Fine art, period. I'm a patron of the arts. I'm a collector of the arts. If you're a painter, remember it's not limited to jazz music. Jazz is a lifestyle. So if you're into fashion, if you're into acting, if you're into anything artistic, call me, hook up with me anywhere in the world. But especially if you're in Detroit, I got a place for you. Don't worry about the money parts. None of them. We'll work everything out. If you got the talent and you had ambition and you got other resources, we'll make it work some kind of way. But we want money. We need money. We ask for money. I beg for money more than a preacher. And so that's that. So what's your,
Yeah.
thank you for watching and listening to WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. So what else? I'm helping you out.
No. So really, you are not only just the founder of this whole initiative and everything. You're trying to push it forward, move it forward, and you're asking for the community, the business community, and everyone else to get involved.
Yeah.
Business companies can sponsor
Yeah.
shows on this network.
And then and here a couple of announcements, and then I have to go, and the show is going to be over. I also one thing I did found did the generation of it along with one of your family members, Judge Cynthia Miller. I and a guy named Ron Butler, we founded the Highland Park Chamber of Commerce. She doesn't like to take credit for it, but I'm giving her credit, giving her flowers. If it wasn't for her, Judge Cynthia Miller, I would not have had the fortitude, the resources, the know-how, the clout, none of that stuff to make it happen. And so Ron Butler is another highly respected businessman. He retired from Chrysler. He kind of helped me navigate the corporate world. So those two, I'm in forever in their debt. But the Highland Park Chamber of Commerce, we're trying to help Highland Park bounce back. It's the first suburb in the United States, founded by Henry Ford Sr., the auto baron mogul, and the Ford family. So do your research on that. Highland Park is coming back. And anyway, so we had that. And One last big announcement. I recently acquired and bought Detroit Times newspaper. So anybody that's a journalist, a writer, you want to be in the journalism field, you want to get involved with the newspaper, anything, give me a call. So, and we're working on other publishing stuff, things too. So, movie business, radio, podcasting, TV, publishing, making songs and music, performing live. Call me. Let's do some stuff.
What's that number that they should call?
I'm not gonna give out my number on the air.
Okay.
Just if you know
Contact you
somebody
through
who
the
knows
internet.
me, like Linda, give me a call through her, or send me, message me on Facebook on the messenger, or send me the email, and I'll reach back out to you immediately.
What's your email?
WJZZ radio@gmail.com. So you close the show. I gotta leave out.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and participating. Sometimes, we don't look or pay attention to those people that are around us that are important and that are doing things. So, but now we know. We know what WJZZ is. We know how you can get involved and how you can build your own empire utilizing the services and the facilities of WJZZ. I look forward to seeing you again and talking to you next week. So, have a great day. Have a great week.